Jeff, again, thank you for joining after being in several meetings this week. Thank you for joining today's Bank Grants Committee meeting. We'll call the meeting to order at 1:08. And then if we, Jennifer, have somebody go over housekeeping.
Yes. Brittany, do you mind?
Yes. Hi, everyone. So welcome committee members, liaisons, and members of the public to the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission Bank Grants Committee meeting. Thank you for joining us. We are using Zoom with the goal to foster a more inclusive environment and effective meeting. If you would like to comment during the meeting, please use the raised hand feature. Please utilize this tool to virtually indicate that you would like to speak in order to help the chair facilitate the discussion. A friendly reminder that this is a video conference and to please be aware of your surroundings behind you. All LSTFC and committee meetings will be recorded and posted to the State Bar website. Zoom captioning is available. To enable, select Live Transcript at the bottom of your Zoom screen, then select Enable Auto Transcription.
Thank you. Thanks, Brittany. All right, Jennifer, if you can do roll call.
Yes. Ball.
Here.
Judge Cruz. Meeker.
Here.
Mahoney.
Here.
We do have quorum, and so now I'll go over the liaisons. I see Lauren Klein and Laura Brown. And let's see, from the State Bar staff, we have Rocio Avalos, Michael Chong, Shannon Crosley, Brittany Veal, Brady Dewar, and myself.
Very good. Thanks, Jennifer. Shannon, do we have any members of public on the line?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, very good. All right, then we'll go ahead into the agenda and we'll start with the minutes. Does anybody have questions or corrections from the February 2nd meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented, please.
I'll second.
All right, let's take a vote. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Jim.
Ball.
Yes.
Judge Cruz. Meeker.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right, moving on to agenda topic number 4. And we are going to take these out of order. We're going to cover item 4.2 first, and that's the to approve the request for proposals for the 2024 through 2025 bank grants. Okay, so I'll hand that over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Tammy.
Give someone else. Okay.
Okay. So this is agenda item 4.2 to approve the request for proposals for the 2024 to 2025 bank grants. My name is Jennifer Zelnick. I'm a senior program analyst in the Office of Access and Inclusion. For today's agenda, we'll cover some background about the history of bank grants, then the bank grant making timeline, the selection criteria and other parameters, the proposed rubric, the application, and reporting. In 2015, the State Bar of California received over $6 million in grant funds from Bank of America and Citi as a result of bank settlements with the U.S. Department of Justice, creating Bank Community Stabilization and Reinvestment Grants, or BCSR. These settlements provided funds to IOLTA-eligible organizations to implement projects that provided, quote, foreclosure prevention legal assistance and community redevelopment legal assistance. These funds became known as the bank grants. Before delving into the history of the bank grant distributions, let's define what we mean by foreclosure prevention legal assistance and community redevelopment legal assistance, since projects who receive these funds can only use them for one or the other. First, we have foreclosure prevention legal services. I am disinclined to read this out loud, and we'll give everyone a minute to just read it for themselves. but I'll say that it includes outreach and education, review of loan documents and counseling, loan modification assistance, negotiation, mediation, and litigation to address service violations, loan modification denial appeals, reverse mortgage advice to older adults, pursuing affirmative action to restore title in other contexts, and policy advocacy and support services to increase capacity and foster collaboration with local, state, and national groups on any of the above issues. Next is community redevelopment legal assistance, which includes transactional support, developing the capacity of low-income community members to advocate on behalf of their communities, representation of low-income communities with respect to community conditions, legal assistance that is transformative to a community, redevelopment assistance to cities and counties, devising program, policy, and legislative solutions to the loss of affordable housing, developing anti-displacement and gentrification prevention strategies, strategies to eliminate and prevent conditions of blight, and legislative or administrative advocacy. Any questions about this? Excellent. So now this slide and the next provides a timeline of past bank grant distributions. More specifically, this slide shows monies received in green and awarded to grantees in blue. In 2015, the State Bar received $6 million, once again from Bank of America and Citi. In January 2016, the State Bar awarded $6 million in 2- or 3-year competitive grants. In February, the next month, the State Bar received an additional $44.8 million from Bank of America. And also that month, the State Bar awarded an additional $2.8 million through a competitive grant process. In April 2016, the State Bar awarded an additional $3 million through a competitive process. In July of that year, the State Bar awarded $740,000 as one-year planning grants. Those were each worth $10,000. So that went to 74 different grantees. Then in March of 2017, $28.5 million were awarded through competitive and formula grant processes. And that award included 71 out of the 74 planning grants. And then finally, in April 2019, the State Bar awarded $6.5 million through a competitive process. Thus far, the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission has awarded over $46.96 million for 197 bank grant awards. This includes 123 formula and competitive grants, as well as the 74 planning grants mentioned previously. The most recent round of funding ended on December 31st of 2022, and roughly $4.7 million remains in funding. About 5% of that would be allocated to the State Bar for grant administration, and $4,520,570 would be allocated for 2024 to 2025 bank grant awards. So this is the grant making timeline. Today is July 28th. We're meeting to have the committee approve the timeline, RFP, scoring rubric, and reporting requirements. On August 2nd, staff will release the application via Smart Simple, and on August 30th, applications will be due 4 weeks later. On September 11th, the committee will advise the scoring team and help calibrate the rubric. And then for the next month, a commissioner staff team will score the applications. On October 27th, the committee will meet to recommend awards. On November 9th, the commission will approve the awards. And on January 1st, 2024, the grant period will begin. And once again, the grants will go from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2025 for a 2-year period. Selection criteria and other parameters. Staff recommends limiting eligibility to qualified legal service projects and support centers. Projects must provide legal assistance in either foreclosure prevention or community redevelopment. Projects must include a minimum of one partnership and/or subgrant. And I'm so sorry, the numbers listed in this slide are not accurate. We've raised them, I believe. So please, let's refer to our RFP and the memo for those funding caps. I believe that we raised them to $250,000 per year for 2 organizations, et cetera, all the way up to, sorry, were you gonna say
No,
something to me?
that is correct. I'm looking at the memo. It's 250 and then 300, 375 and 450. So it looks like everything was, well, the first one was 250. The others were raised by 25,000.
Thank you, Tammy. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay. Now we have the proposed rubric. And as a note, the rubric would be a tool to guide evaluation. Scores would not guarantee funding. The committee may exercise its discretion to make awards that accomplish the goals of the bank grants. This might include distributing grants statewide and striving for a diversity of bank grant interventions. In order to do so, this would require a post-rubric comparative analysis. And just as a note, this page shows the first part of the rubric. We broke it down into 2 slides to ensure eligibility. So the first category is project impact and strategies. And this is a pretty standard criteria for our grants in the Office of Access and Inclusion. The applicant proposes a project that significantly and directly addresses or will address a compelling need for the particular foreclosure prevention or community redevelopment interventions. Staff is proposing that we use a fixed point system for this category, but that it represents larger numbers to indicate its importance. So for exceeds expectations, projects would score 25 points. For meets expectations, projects would score 19. For below, projects would score 11 points, and for not addressed, 0 points. And then we have a few more categories on this slide. We have administration. The applicant demonstrates that it has the organizational capacity that it needs to meet the proposed objectives. The applicant also demonstrates that it has the qualifications, resources, and/or partners that it needs to meet the proposed objectives. Project evaluation, the applicant details how it will acquire and use data to measure the effectiveness in its services and meet reporting requirements, and serves rural populations. The applicant presents a strategy to meet the foreclosure prevention or community redevelopment legal needs of specific rural or frontier communities. So just a couple of notes regarding the rural populations category. Staff would like to add a sentence to the RFP to make clear that applications will be evaluated based on serving rural populations as indicated by the MSSA criteria referenced in the RFP. As the posted materials demonstrate, MSSAs are already explained, but we want to clarify that only the MSSA definition of rural will earn points in this category. And then the other note is that for these 3 categories, the point breakdown will be 15 points for exceeds expectations, 10 points for meets expectations, 5 points for below, and 0 for not addressed. Are there any questions about this part of the rubric?
No, you answered the one question I had, which was on how rural's defined. So thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. And then for the last criterion,
Jennifer,
yes.
we had Jim had his hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple of comments on this since I've scored, this is the first time I think the bank grants are being scored by a rubric. And I've been on the
True.
committee before when we use non-rubric approaches, and I think the rubric is superior. But based on my experience with the rubrics and the homeless prevention, I just wanted to raise a couple of issues with Tammy and with Jeff, since you guys are going to be scoring it. One is that this MSSA definition on footnote 2, page 5, Jennifer, you need to check the link because the link is no longer valid. It goes to a 404 page. You have to go back and say, give me the rural maps. And if you have problems updating it, let me know. I'll give you the current link.
Thank you.
The organizations are getting better at relying on this, but in my experience, at least with the homeless prevention, oftentimes people will cite areas that they think are rural that are not. Like I had one organization said that they were working on rural areas in Santa Clara County. Well, Santa Clara, like Orange, like San Francisco, have no rural MSSAs. So, but they think they have them. The other thing is that some of the programs, like the ones that serve Fresno, they're not particularly specific about where in Fresno they're going to work. Fresno is a particularly unique county because it has more rural poor as defined at the 120% level than any other county in the state, but it has even more urban poor than they have rural poor. So it's important for places like Fresno and even San Bernardino or even Riverside to specify what part of their counties that they're actually going to be working for rural services, because some of those grants tend to be a little non-specific. So that I just wanted to raise those issues as far as my experience with using MSSAs.
I appreciate that you did that, Jim, because that was part as I was looking at this rural definition and how it would be applied. That was exactly the type of feedback I was looking at, and we will certainly consider those comments when we get into that phase.
Right.
Yeah,
And
and
if
I remember some of those issues as well, Jim, on the scoring of HP. So we'll
Right,
certainly
right.
be cognizant of that as we go through them.
Right, and if you're interested in the history of it, that's all defined on why MSSAs are used by the Access Commission report back in 2010, which is available online.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Okay. And then the last category of the rubric is partnerships and or subgrants. This category asks the applicant to leverage partnerships with and or subgrants to community-based organizations or local jurisdictions. The partnerships or subgrants must enable or may enable applicants to expand service provisions and or populations reached. And of note, strategic subgrants that enhance the project and or ensure its continuity beyond the grant period will be weighted more heavily than partnerships alone. Once again, this category is scored by 15 points for exceeds expectations, 10 points for meets, 5 points for below, and 0 for not addressed. And in total, the 6 rubric categories will add up to 85 possible points. Any questions about this? All right. Oh, Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, just on the timeline, because you guys are going to be initializing the rubric. I presume you'll be reading a couple of sample grants. My experience in this area is that in the very early days, most of the proposals were mortgage refinancing. But as the time went on and different iterations occurred, they shifted from mortgage stuff, which is pretty straightforward, to community development. And there's a wide variability in what is and what is not community development. Now, the good thing is that both Tammy and Jeff, you guys have experience in the banking community, which none of the scoring teams before on that committee have had. But that was the one area where we had the biggest disagreement. So when you're going to stabilize the scoring rubric committee-wide, you might want to have some examples on community development, especially if most of the grants that you're getting are going for the community development.
Yeah, very good point. And I do hope we get some that are redevelopment, but we'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great feedback, Jim. Thank you. I'll be sure to skew a little bit more heavily towards that for the calibration meeting. All right. Next, we have the application. We have the project profile, which will have high-level information about the project, such as whether it's foreclosure prevention or community redevelopment, the award request, other funding, and the abstract. Then we'll have details about the project, such as need, clients, partnerships, and subgrants, goals, deliverables, and strategies for outreach and evaluation. Then we'll have the budget and budget narrative, which will explain how the program would spend project funds for 24 months and information about each line of the budget. As a note in staff's memo, staff separated the budget and budget narrative into two forms, C and D. However, our office is in the process of streamlining the application and combined these into Form C. With project assurances moving up to Form D. This will make things easier both for applicants as well as for the team reviewing the applications. And then finally, the assurances will be standard information that the State Bar requires applicants to acknowledge about understanding when applying for the grant. Any questions about this? Okay. For reporting, we will have annual reporting. This will include both an expenditure report and a services report. The services report will have main benefits for all cases, economic benefits to the extent possible. For foreclosure prevention, the total individuals served, how many were seniors, children, and veterans, and how many foreclosures were prevented. For community redevelopment, total individuals, nonprofits, and small businesses benefited. There will be an evaluation of whether project deliverables were met, whether changes were made, what materials were produced, and evaluation tools and reports. There will be information about community impact. And for support centers, there will be quantitative and qualitative data about trainings, convenings, research, and other support for QLSPs. And then there will be a final evaluation, which will capture the same information as the annual report, but it will also consider these in relation to the entirety of the grant. Any questions about this? Okay. So next we have a resolution. I suggest that we might need to edit it to reflect the changes we've discussed today. So that would read, if the committee concurs with staff's proposal, passage of the following resolution is recommended. Resolved that the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission Bank Grants Committee, acting on behalf of the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission under its delegated authority, approves the grant-making timeline, request for proposals, scoring rubric, and reporting requirements for the 2024 to 2025 bank grants as described during the committee meeting on July 28, 2023.
Jennifer, is there, because the amounts we were using out of the memo though, right?
That's true, yes.
So I will make a motion to approve the resolution subject to an updating of the amounts indicated on that memo.
Okay, so let's think about how we would phrase that.
Let's you do that in two parts, right? The grants, when you reference the funding caps, you know, within the memo, and then the remaining.
Or do you want to go back and change the memo right now?
I don't think we can change the memo because it's been posted, unfortunately. And the memo was correct. It was the slide that was incorrect. So I think we could change the slide and that would be the solution.
Well, the slide is not part of the resolution, right?
If I may, the reflection of during the committee meeting, it'll encapsulate everything that you just talked about. That's like the memorialization.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dwan. Is everyone comfortable with that? So we're saying the amount of funding from the memo, but with the updates to the RFP discussed during the committee meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So we had a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Jim. All right. Do you want to take a vote? Thank you.
We'll do, Tammy. Ball,
Yes.
Judge Cruz, Meeker,
Yes.
Mahoney.
Yes.
The motion passes. Okay, thank you.
All right, now the fun starts.
Yes, and I will be in touch with the scoring team shortly in order to schedule those sessions.
Okay, thank you for that. We're going to go back to item 4.1, and that is an update on the 2016 through 2022 bank grant evaluations. And Jennifer and Michael will present that. I'll hand that over.
Thanks, Tammy. Yes, Michael, please feel free to introduce yourselves and take us through the presentation today.
Michael, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I'm like trying to find everything where everything's at. All right, let's try that again. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. All right. Can you guys see my screen okay? The
We
slides are all
can see
good?
it. Yes.
Perfect. Okie dokie. Good afternoon again. My name is Michael Chong. I'm a program analyst with the Office of Access and Inclusion. Thank you for allowing me to present on the bank grants. We'll just kind of do an overview of everything that occurred from 2016 to 2022. So today we're going to go over the grant distributions, an overview of the evaluation data that we had, lessons learned, and how we'll be moving forward. So looking at the grants, we did have rounds 1 and 2, and these rounds actually funded 23 community redevelopment projects and 15 foreclosure projects. Round 3 funded an additional 20 projects. And then we had that planning grant in the middle where we had 74 organizations who opted in to receive the $10,000 to plan for 1 year. Round 4 funded 71 of the 74 planning grants. And then round 5 funded an additional 13 projects. When we're looking at a total, we had a total of 75 organizations, and they were able to undertake 123 unique projects. All right. So we're looking here at an overview of the evaluation data. So speaking directly about economic benefits, we're referring to any financial award or savings for clients. And so we also consider this to be any amounts of debt that was discharged. So looking at the whole, our highest area in which there was the most economic benefits was housing, with $241,020,457 recovered. And then that was followed by miscellaneous and then employment. Just a quick little caveat about miscellaneous. Through the reporting period, miscellaneous became a category that changed in 2019. And this included the income and other categories that we had. And this was done to streamline the reporting and also align with the California Legal Aid Reporting Handbook. So you'll see that some places will talk about income and other, and some places will talk miscellaneous, and that's because of the combining. The 3 top areas of law where clients save the most was housing with 24 million, consumer finance with almost 11 million, and then other with $606,000. looking at main benefits by area of law, this here is specifically looking at any outcomes for legal issues. The main difference here is that main benefits are outcomes, whereas financial awards would be the economic benefits. An example can be like preventions of foreclosure preventions, items that expanded capacity for community redevelopment through legal processes. But looking at the top 3 areas, again, the number of benefits that really had the most impact was in housing. Then that was followed by miscellaneous, which is the catch-all of income and other. And then lastly, consumer finance. Oh, sorry. And then we also do have the number of people who benefited from these services. And this is, again, it's a little skewed. Again, where miscellaneous had the highest number of people who were impacted. That's due to it being the catch-all for several other areas. Yes. James.
Jim?
Yeah, question on the people benefited by services. Is that clients or is that like household size?
It's clients and household size. So it kind of combines both, and that's due to the way the reporting was captured at the time. One.
Yeah, can I give a little context to this category? This number of people benefit services. So when the bank grant was first, when all the states first got a distribution, the ABA actually sent out, I want to say, requirements to all the states saying that these are the categories, these are the outcomes you have to collect. And one of this was the number of people benefits, but it was always really vague. But we have read into it that it's both like the client and the household, or whoever else. It might even be beyond the household too. So you'll see some large numbers because of that. But it's not, I don't know if programs read into it the same way. It's the bank grant kind of reporting is not kind of the cleanest reports that we've issued, and the guidance for it around it hasn't been crisp either, just because we did glean a lot of that reporting from what the ABA required at the time.
Thanks, John.
Any other questions?
Jim, do you still have a question?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
So moving on, again, these bank grants were actually divided, or we divided it into different reporting periods, and that is due to the way the RFP was kind of put out. So we have community redevelopment grants that ran from 2016 to 2018. We're breaking down the findings from that based on economic and main benefits. Here, again, we see that the highest economic benefits was housing, followed by other, and then lastly by employment. And then also triggering the number of benefits and the number of people served. Sorry, lost my train of thought for a second. So yeah, sorry. So, the fact that we had a lot of housing related economic benefits with a community redevelopment grant was something that we did note. And I think it's also, to show the point that, housing has been an issue regardless. And specifically, what differentiates this from the foreclosure prevention is that this housing related issue, it's more based on ensuring that people were able to stay within their, affordable homes, or finding access to affordable homes, or helping people who were having issues mostly related to rentals. Whereas foreclosure prevention would be more geared towards homeowners. So I did want to differentiate that.
And
Yes.
Michael, can I just give the note about the economic benefit reporting categories?
Oh, please.
So just to note that we normally would not mix recurring economic benefits with one-time awards. So the category back awards, lump sum settlements, sanction, or monthly benefits includes both lump sums and recurring awards. This again was due to a change in reporting, specifically the 2016 to 2018 evaluations asked for monthly benefits that were not annualized and were ongoing. But from 2019 onward, evaluations separated monthly benefits with a set time, reported as a lump sum, from monthly benefits that were not annualized for an unknown period.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Mike.
Going on to the next section, which was the main and economic benefits for foreclosure prevention grants. Again, because those two were separated out, we were able to collect data specifically for foreclosure and redevelopment. Here, not surprisingly, housing would be the area in which most people receive the most economic benefits. But I did want to say and show and highlight the fact that we did have 14 million, almost 15 million in economic benefits and helping clients save. And that could be due like, foreclosure modifications, things of that nature that were able to save money that they would have had to expend. Last, we have the main and economic benefits moving forward from the 2018 to 2022 grants. In this particular one, it actually, after taking in account all the changes that happened in 2019, should be a little bit more streamlined. So again, housing was the area in which we had the most economic benefits. That's followed by miscellaneous, and then we have employment. And then main benefits that had the most benefits again would be housing, miscellaneous, and then consumer. And that would track based on what we were seeing. So looking at the demographics of the people that were served, I do want to note that we do have a little bit of a discrepancy here, and I'll explain the reason why. Base here, it shows that we were able to help 4 million people, which doesn't correlate to the 1.8 that we reported earlier. And that is due to 2.2 million being included in this demographic as receiving access to justice benefits. That category was removed from the reporting as it was a new metric that was introduced halfway through the grants. So in order to make sure that we were comparing apples to apples, we excluded that separately. Unfortunately, those who were receiving access to justice legal services were included in the demographic piece because there is no way to differentiate specifically who was being helped through the different specific services. So it gets kind of blended, but we were able to kind of pull out some of the information. And based on what we were able to find is that the majority of people that we served, 994,783 were seniors, 93,475 were children, and we had 1.1 million who were veterans. And then also, moving forward, we will hopefully fix that number up. So an overview of the number of organizations by county. So these bank grants were provided to organizations across California. And we did notice that larger urban counties had more organizations providing these services than smaller rural counties. And looking at it, we did find that the median number of organizations providing grant-funded services in a county was roughly about 30. And then, breaking that down even further, we did see that LA County had 62 organizations, followed by Alameda, who had 56 different organizations, and then Santa Clara had 42. Just for contrast, Alpine County, which is one of the organizations, one of the counties that had the fewest organizations, was 11 there. So what did we learn from this? First off, we did realize that housing related issues were exacerbated during the pandemic, which led to a high number of housing related main and economic benefits. Even prior to, we did see those numbers already steadily increasing. So we know that just made things a lot worse. And then also we did notice that some clients did have trouble accessing services during the pandemic, specifically looking at seniors, those who had limited English, who were limited English speakers, and those who were found in rural areas. we did also note or find that organizations reported seeing the uptick in the number of eviction defense cases, which again just made the housing situation more dire. And then ultimately, we did find that organizations were able to be resilient and were able to continue to provide legal services through innovative methods and technologies. Pretty much, trying to go out where the clients are. We did see organizations that would do clinics that would go into the neighborhoods, into the community to try to provide services. So looking forward, we hope to utilize the lessons learned on this, evaluation to help us guide new grant opportunities. We're also hoping to find and explore ways that we can incorporate technology in for grant processes, whether it be through reporting or data collection, just being able to streamline a lot of the reports and, guidelines. And then also, looking forward, as Jennifer mentioned, we're going to have that bank grant that will be awarded in 2024. Any questions?
Doesn't look like it. Thank you, Michael. All right, go ahead,
Sorry,
Jennifer.
I just wanted to add another thank you to Michael for all of his hard work on this report, and to also let everyone know on the committee and our liaisons that I will be sending that out via email today. It was just 63 pages, so it wasn't really feasible for us to post that.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any other comments before we move on? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 4.3, and that's an update on the Leadership Bank
Tammy,
program.
Jim has a
Oh, sorry, Jim, I didn't see it. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Jim.
just a quick question. So the reporting requirements were required by the ABA, is that correct, Lon?
Yeah, they required it for the first couple years and then they stopped requiring it. But because we had already been collecting, we kept some of those requirements and then we changed it. And that's why there's some changing midstream, which has been very difficult for, I would say, for Mikey and Jennifer to aggregate it, because we did change reporting requirements midstream once they had dropped off their requirements.
Yeah, changing metrics always creates problems.
Yeah, I mean, this I have to, I will be, and I've said this to the staff, completely transparent. I was the staff that was hired on to do the bank grant. And now looking back at like that reporting requirement, it was not something we would do now moving forward, how we've collected those outcomes measures. We've definitely improved from HP from all of our other discretionary grants. Not anything we would repeat for big grants.
And I was just wondering, has anybody looked at what other states are reporting, how we compare?
Well, we being the largest distributor, our numbers are high in comparison to like the foreclosure numbers from other states. We took a really expansive definition of community redevelopment, which is great, I think, for our state. But the outcomes for community redevelopment, it's harder because it's so expansive for us to kind of report out. Other states were more limited, I'll just say that, and kind of their definition of so it's not, you're not really comparing apples to oranges. And then the ABA piece of that had to do with community redevelopment. It was hard to really make anything more of those couple questions that they asked. And then so we layered on our main economic benefits reporting onto that.
So the ABA never submitted a final report of how all this money was spent?
They never did, yeah. No.
Okay.
But we know because we've talked to like other states individually over the years.
Okay.
Okay. Hearing no other questions, we'll go on to 4.3. And again, that's the update on the Leadership Bank program. Jennifer and Rocio.
Thank you. Rocio, I'll share my screen.
Great, thank you so much. And apologies, I turned on my video on my laptop, but I'm having connection issues. So I'm on audio on my phone. So just so you know, this is me over here on the video. And if you hear any, I'm out of the office today. So if you hear any background noise, please let me know and I'll repeat myself. But wanted to join in and provide an update on the Leadership Bank program. I believe the last time that our staff presented on the IOLTA program and specifically Leadership Bank was at the commission meeting in November of last year. You heard from a few of our staff, including our lead staff member at that time who's no longer in our office. So we wanted to circle back, provide an update, and suggest next steps on how we can continue to work on improving our Leadership Bank program in 2023. And hopefully start a working group so we can continue to explore some additional ideas that we can work on and bring back to the committee. So next slide, please, Jennifer. Thank you. So this is just a high level overview, just a reminder of what was presented in November, the goal of the IOLTA program to increase access to justice, giving a recap of the history from establishing IOLTA, comparability, the established compliance rate, setting the ECR, and up to the newest piece of the program, the Leadership Bank program. Next slide, please. And so as a reminder, the Leadership Bank program was approved in 2019. It was created to encourage financial institutions to elect at least the ECR rate of 69% of the federal funds target rate, or 0.68%, whichever is higher on all accounts. And on top of that, the additional step is to then also waive any fees or charges on these accounts. And to facilitate the process of remitting payments to the State Bar, it gives them access to the State Bar IOLTA portal as well. That I'll talk a little bit about some potential improvements to that as a recommended next step for this year. So this is just just to give you a sense of the current leadership banks, including two new ones that we actually just added to this list, I believe this month, which are the Beach Cities Commercial Bank and the MyPoint Credit Union. So these are reflected on our website. If you ever want to see what the updates are, we do try to keep that up to date as there are changes in our program. So we have 17 leadership banks at the moment. These are alphabetical order. There's no other reason why some are at the top of the list or in the second column. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so this is a slide that was previously presented to you on possible ways to enhance IOLTA revenue. This next step was going to be exploring which ones we wanted to dive in a little bit deeper. Staff, given where things are with interest rates and revenue and some of the recent conversations around IOLTA in general, staff is recommending that we focus on the two that are highlighted in green for the remaining 2 quarters of this year to really focus on building deeper relationships with our bank contacts, building out our infrastructure with our IOLTA portal to be able to better capture that, and also doing a deeper dive and revising our communications around this program, including kind of the why, really hoping to, via the website and additional materials that the State Bar produces mentioning the Leadership Bank program, really help to elevate the messaging, make it a little bit clear as to why maybe someone who's looking at the ECR option to make that jump to Leadership Bank. Next slide, please. And so it's just recapping what I mentioned. These would be the 3 proposed activities that we would recommend working with a working group of this committee to explore these a little bit further, what that communication strategy could look like, taking a look at our website, other informational, educational materials around the program, and building deeper relationships with the banks. And as I mentioned, we're currently assessing our existing IOLTA portal and identifying how we can make some enhancements to better capture information about our relationships with banks and communications that we have. So it's not just a portal used to facilitate remittance of payments from banks to the State Bar, but also see how we can make enhancements, take advantage of and leverage technology to enhance the program via the portal. And next slide, please. So I mentioned this was short update and proposal. So I'll pause for see if there are any questions or suggestions. But the staff proposal would be that should the bank grant committee concur with the next steps, a resolution to form a working group to be able to work with staff and commissioners, explore these ideas a bit more, as well as some of the other ones that we're proposing to pause on for now, but we can continue exploring those ideas and bring back recommendations to this committee later in the year to be ready to implement those or launch those in Q1 of 2024. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions or anything. Yes, please.
I had a couple questions. One question is, help me understand where and how we promote that a bank is a leadership bank so that law firms are aware of the institutions that are participating at that level.
Yes, excellent question. So the primary location where we promote that is on our website. So there is a specific leadership bank page. There's also reference to it. And I'm happy to link back in an email. This is exactly what we want to map out. We started looking at where on our website, there's various places, is the IOLTA program referenced, and specifically the Leadership Bank program. We can do a lot better to highlight the program messaging. And then we also do, when we get new banks, we do sometimes push out messages via social media. And when attorneys do ask, we refer them to the website as well to see that list.
Does the state bar have some sort of a program or maybe it's on the website or something that helps a newly formed law firm with kind of the different things they need to do from a corporate governance standpoint? And if so, within that, when it talks about how they need to handle client retainers that have to go into a special account, does it offer up the leadership banks at that point?
I'd have to go back to my team and get clarity as to like which point of the process in talking to banks the leadership bank is actually discussed. But I did want to make one quick clarification. When I referenced promoting the banks, we're not actually promoting the banks. We're promoting the fact that these are banks who are part of the leadership bank program. So I just wanted to make that distinction, which I assumed was clear, but just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, this is a very appropriate distinction. Thank you. So the other question that I had was with the there's been and maybe this is a question for Dawn. I know there was a legislative bill that was going to require the banks to report more information. Do you know where that ended up?
I'm sorry, excuse me. I know that there was kind of resistance for it to be passed, but I would need to go back and check to our office that handles that and get back.
And I should know as well, but just so that the members of the committee are aware, there was a move in the legislature to require the banks to do much higher levels of reporting on their IOLTA accounts, which would require significant upgrades from a data management perspective. And so I don't know how that would impact how banks view IOLTA. And I think anything we can do, you mentioned the updated loading site, but anything we can do that can help the banks expedite the process would be beneficial. The other comment that I would make is, I think you mentioned that within that portal where data gets submitted, that there is an opportunity there to do some promotion around the leadership bank initiative. And I would just point out that typically those are the people that are entering that are more clerical than managerial. So while I think it's good to promote the benefits of leadership bank wherever we can, that's probably not going to get to the target audience we want.
Yes, thank you for that. And I should have clarified, apologies if I wasn't clear on that. The portal enhancements is more focusing on contact management. Currently, we don't have a portal or CMS specifically for banks to be able to track who we're interacting with, who our contact person is. And so just having a clear overview of for each bank, who is our contact, who is accessing the portal, what our last negotiations were. And we're currently tracking that in a different location. And so trying to see how we can incorporate all of that, just be able to pull reports and just have a better sense of who we're speaking to.
And then my last question is, has the State Bar considered any type of a benefit, either in fee structure or otherwise, that would provide some sort of incentive for the law firms to go with one of our leadership banks?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can definitely look into that. Unless Duan,
We have not, and that's something, if it's the working group or this committee
we
is
can
interested
explore.
in, we can explore doing this rebate process, but we have not in the past.
Okay.
And this is why, Jeff, we're looking forward to having some sort of working group to be able to explore some of these ideas and some of the knowledge that lives with many of our commissioners here.
Great.
Jim, I see you have a question.
Yeah, I have a technical question for Tammy and Jeff. It's slightly off topic, but it does relate to IOLTA. My understanding in the early 80s, when the legality of IOLTA was being litigated, that one of the issues was that it was not feasible for banks to be able to calculate interest for clients on such small amounts in such short time periods. Now, 40 years later, with the increase in technology and computing power, and the stock market does millions of trades in a microsecond, isn't it feasible now for banks to actually calculate the interest on small amounts for short periods of time?
It's
Yeah,
actually, Jim, well, it's the attorneys. It's the attorneys would need to be managing that process, putting them in separate accounts and so forth.
Yeah.
So the banks couldn't do that?
Well, what the banks do is they will open up a separately titled designated IOLTA account. Your question was on calculation of interest based on amount, and the answer to that is yes, they can do it on all of them. The issue that the banks often run into, Jim, is from a data processing standpoint, they're paying the same cost for data management, whether that account has $100 or $100,000. And so when you have a number of very small accounts, it creates a high cost base for the bank that they have to absorb in being able to provide the IOLTA accounts during periods when they have very low volume. But as far as the computer capabilities, the data management capabilities, that's not an issue.
Yeah, and I'll also add, like, the nominal and like short term is not quite defined in this part of the statute. I mean, I think the State Bar there's some guidance in terms of what that is and like what's a de minimis amount. But the small amount, like what the features of it being a small amount, that doesn't change. I mean, our net assets have changed, dramatically over the last years. That's why we see a higher in terms of our revenue, but in terms of that nominal amount, it's still the nominal amount, right? That's for each individual kind of client trust account.
I was just worried that the decision was based on technically shaky grounds nowadays. That's all.
No.
Right. Thanks, Jim and Jeff. Jennifer, I didn't realize again that this was a voting item? Looks
Sorry
like
about
we-
that. Yes, we
yeah.
believe so.
Okay. All right, so the resolution is before the committee. If I can get a motion.
I'm looking at you, Jim.
Okay, I'll move.
And I will second.
Thank you. Jennifer, if we can get a vote.
Certainly. Ball,
Yes.
Judge Cruz, Meeker,
Yes.
Mahoney.
Yes. And just one follow-up question, Lucia, what was the timing of the working group? You said,
So
okay. go
we
ahead.
were hoping, oh yes, sorry. It based on availability, obviously, and we would make sure that any additional work with the commissioners interested in joining. And hopefully those of you with banking experience are looking forward to joining this working group. We would ensure, working with Jennifer, that there isn't overlap in terms of timing and hours contributing to this, but we are hoping to dive into this a bit more and get this work done before the end of this year. Bringing back specific recommendations to the committee that we want to work on in 2024, but starting the work on the communications plan and revamping our website around the Leadership Bank program, and building deeper relationships with banks and IOLTA portal enhancements in Q3 and Q4 of 2023.
Okay, I asked that I know Jeff and I are on the scoring
Availability,
committee, and
yes.
yeah, and depending on how many applications we receive, that can get a little lengthy, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there and figure out availability.
Great.
And
Thank you so much.
Just to make it official, the motion passes. So.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer.
Sorry,
Appreciate it.
Jennifer, I jumped ahead.
No problem.
Okay. I think that concludes our agenda, unless there are any other topics or questions that anybody has to discuss. Okay, well, we'll get you an hour of your time back. There being no further business before the committee, we will call the meeting adjourned at 2:08 p.m. Thank you all and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Tammy. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.
Right.
Bye.